So no Power Platform Boost the musical today then.
Oh, but that's such a good idea though. And also we're approaching like 100 episodes. We should do something special. Just putting it out there. Just like,
I'm afraid I've planted a seed now, but we'll continue on. Welcome, everyone, to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community, with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrikke Akebek.
Hey, Nick.
Hello. Hey, Ulrikke, how's it going?
It's going great. Guess who's back? Back again. I can finally talk. I cannot sing to my kids, though. Yeah, I know. For talking, it's fairly okay, and I can now stop doing all the cold medicine stuff. But the thing I still cannot do is sing to the kids at night because they all go. When I sing, it's like, oh, that's how I sing. So and my older kid, she's like, well, I'm used to it. I'm like, you're what? I'm sorry, what? You are not. I sing like an opera singer usually. You're not used to it. But then she's like, oh, okay, no.
So no Power Platform Boost the musical today then.
Oh, but that's such a good idea though. And also we're approaching like 100 episodes. We should do something special. Just putting it out there. Just like,
I'm afraid I've planted a seed now, but we'll continue on.
And I have, without spoiling anything, I have seen you both sing and dance. And I think it is worthy of an audience, I must say. I mean, I feel very honored because I'm one of the few people that have seen it, but it is a spectacle, and it should, I think the world is owed that. It would make the world a better place. So enough about me and my voice. Where are you and how are you?
So I'm in a basement somewhere in a hotel in Halifax.
Doesn't sound good.
I don't know.
Are you okay? Blink twice if you want me to rescue you.
No, I'm all good. Yeah, visiting Halifax. My kid is going to be going to university here this coming fall. So we're doing a tour, checking it all out. So I eventually will get back to the home studio where we'll record an episode. Might be a month or two yet before we get there, based on the travels. So, but this is where we are this weekend, checking all that out. Interesting times. Nova Scotia is a great province. Halifax is a great city. But so this is where we're broadcasting Power Platform Boost from today. And of course, we got back from Redmond from last week. Really good week. Obviously, we can't talk about a lot of things, but definitely something to do with AI. And as we're beginning to go through the news items, we're going to see, I would say that the news items align with a lot of what we saw and heard last week as well. Put it that way.
And also a lot of the things that were that they discussed with us is now, it's not so much a discussion, but some of them, the things that they showed us last week, they said, well, this is going to be announced next week or the week after, or some of it's for build or something like that. So we could then prepare stuff. We can't share it with anyone. We could prepare content that we can then at a timely schedule release to the world when it's public preview. And I see a lot of content like that coming out this week. So we have a very long list to go through. And I wanted to start off with our favorite, well, we can't really say that because we have a lot of these, but one of our favorite bands, which is Josh and Charles, out with another video. These guys are knocking it out of the park. This is so much fun. Did you see this one?
I haven't watched through full of it. All of it yet. I did see it. Of course, anytime I see that, okay, I flag it. I need to watch this stuff, but it's definitely, from what I have seen, a great discussion about, and this is a discussion we've been having for years now. It's always about which Power App type should you use, or which app type should you use? And the answer is always, it depends, but there's a lot of factors about, what the users are going to be, what their workload's going to be, and licensing factors into this. Now, of course, they're going through what They said there's 5 different types of apps. I would also argue there's more than just that. They do, from what I've seen, they do a good kind of breakdown. Did you watch it? Maybe you can comment better than I can.
I didn't fully watch the whole thing. I watched the start just to kind of see what they're going through. And it's like you said, they go through the 5 types of apps. And also they recognize that you also have the ability to connect to Power Pages as an external source. And now you have kind of different variants of that as well. In addition to Copilots, you can also add to the other apps and pages and other channels. So it's come back to what we always talked about, which is the right tool for the right job. And even in Copilot world or even in Power Pages world, it's hard. And I had this discussion with a colleague of mine just the other week because he's like, he got his hands on the new AI agent coding for plugin for Power Pages. And he's now vibe coding his way with a coding agent and with server-side logic and client-side API. He's like, why wouldn't we just use Power Pages for everything? Licensing-wise, it makes sense. We can make a business app. We can make it look like a business app. It can talk to data the same way. He's like, why would we not? And I'm finding it hard to come up with good kind of arguments for why not. But it has to do with, because Canvas app is a web app. Code app is a web app. All of this is web app. So what differs Power Pages from a code app then, or a Canvas app for that matter, at the end of the day? And when we have people vibe coding or code apping model-driven apps, I get the people that don't know this stuff as deep as we do get a bit cross-eyed and go, you what now? So this is a great video for anyone who's kind of a bit confused and needs someone to just lay it out really strategically and very kind of in an organized fashion. And so they do a very good job of just going through, all right, this is the map. This is the chaos. Let us go through it bit by bit to show you what to use for what and the use cases that they're good for. And also, I just wanted to kind of transition this and segue a little bit over to, if you want to sit in a room and have someone take you through this and allow you to work, because it's one thing to see it on a video. It's another thing to actually play with it and work with it, because that's how I'm a very tactile learner. So I'm not a very visual learner. So if I get to play with something, I'll learn it way quicker. Then come to Color Cloud and join Scott Giroux's session, because he's doing an 8-hour workshop on this exact thing from a pro code perspective, and also through the different apps and the different app types that you have in Power Platform now, what to use for what. And you actually get to play with it hands-on. And so that's something that I would check out if I were you. And also, if you want to go through the recruit part, the first course in the Agent Academy for Copilot Studio, Copilot, then join us for our workshop at Color Cloud, which will be the recruit part of that curriculum. So you and me will go through that. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And I'm just scrolling through some of the, speaking, just give a little shout outs to some of our other friends. There's of course, Scott's workshop. There's our workshop. There's a whole shit ton of other workshops I'm going through here that I'm like, shoot, I'm running a workshop or else I'd attend some of these ones.
I know, right?
Like there's the Copilot studio. There's a hackathon going on. If that's more your learning style, we talked about hackathons before.
Yeah, that's the circus with Anna and Chris and
Yep. There's stuff on customer insights, which is, if that's your thing, of course, Joe and Catherine are doing their beautiful apps for functional makers that they did in Canada as well, Vancouver. Keith and Neil about thinking like a Power Platform architect. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go through these all because there's so many. The other one that really caught my eye was from Magnus Sorensen about agentic engineering masterclass, building production ready Dataverse solutions with AI. Like, I feel for this guy because there's been a lot of news stuff in the last week or two that I'm not sure, Magnus, if you're going to incorporate this stuff, you gotta, like, your content must be rapidly changing. And then
it's made
some Power BI stuff
before. Yeah.
Oh, there's us.
Definitely.
Anyways, check out the workshops, and we'll put the link in the show notes because you still have a week. Use Color Boost for a discount, or Easter 20. I think there's plenty of ways to get into Color Cloud. It's a great opportunity for a day of learning. So check that out.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I see that we have a lot of subscribers to our already. So when you sign up, you can kind of favorite the workshop you want to go to, and we see that ours is filling up. So make sure to favorite the ones you're thinking about attending, so that we get a little bit of a feel of how the big of the rooms and and swag, maybe how much swag to get, and it's all coming together. But of course, it's we do plan this very tightly at the moment to make room because there's so much.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a great segue. But guess what also is coming to Europe beyond V and other things?
Has it to do with powerlifting?
No. I mean, sorry, like that was a really crappy segue.
Yeah. The segue to the thing. All right. Yeah. The Gen Pages one.
Yes. So remember how you were ranting a few months ago about how Gen Pages were great, but we could only use them in US-based environments. So
your voice is going now?
No, my voice is going now. What's happening?
What's going on? Maybe this is going to be a Ulrikke show. Yes. Yeah. Gen Pages is going to be available in all clouds, GA, and also be available through agent dev tools. So that's great news.
Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
We have a few customers who are actually waiting.
I have some apps that I'm actually running on separate environments and US-based environments that I want to consolidate into my main environment. So I'll be able to start doing that now on some Gen Pages I created earlier for some of the other apps. So yeah, Very cool. So one thing also very cool is, of course, we're seeing a lot of community. Of course, now we're talking with without going into a full deep dive tutorial, we have things like MCP servers. Of course, skills is the new hottest thing in the last few weeks, building skill files, both for Claude and for GitHub Copilot, plus the concept of skills is coming into the Power Platform as well with Dataverse skills and those types of things that we'll talk a little bit about later. But we're seeing now community content, people out there, community people are used to create code, used to create, content around things. People are creating skills and distributing them through GitHub. And I caught on something here, which is really cool. It is Canvas Apps tools by someone called Tolu Victor. And I'm just going to kind of bring it up here. But basically, he's created these Canvas app tools. And now, of course, we hear Canvas apps are dead and you should be, you could do code apps or replace Canvas apps. But I mean, there's still a lot of Canvas apps out there and people are still very comfortable with Canvas apps. So seeing this plus some of the other stuff Microsoft is doing, Canvas apps are, I think, just in the grand scheme of things, another option for people to build apps. And what he did, he created a plugin that gives Claude Code a skill that will generate the UI based on a wireframe or a mockup and generate the Canvas app YAML and put that together when you're building Canvas apps. And I thought that was pretty brilliant. And the way he put it all together, it's on GitHub. We'll have the links. I haven't tried it out myself, so I can't really give you is it work or not work? I'm assuming it does work because there's a lot of people that have favorited it and have looked at it. So if you're building Canvas apps, but you feel that you want to kind of get into a little bit of begin to use agents to help you design your UI a little bit, this could be something for you to check out.
Absolutely. And also, I edited the post. I love this. Due to overwhelming demand, I've made the plugin free and open source for everyone. Check out my latest post for all the details and download links, which is amazing. I mean, and it tells you kind of the demand for something like this, which is so cool. So we have the Canvas app tool here, and then we have a Dataverse MCP server.
Yeah.
Also,
and I think this
we're going to share the link too.
Yeah, because this is another. I know there is the official Microsoft MCP server, and I think I've seen other ones, but this is another example. This is one I actually used on a project myself. I wanted to create a whole bunch of tables and things, and the one out of the box couldn't do something, or I say out of the box, the one from Microsoft. So I ended up using this one, and it was actually worked really slick. It actually went in and created those tables and things for me. This is before we saw the Dataverse skills that we're going to talk about in a bit. Like I said, things are changing. And I mean, as great as it is, these folks in the community are creating these tools, sometimes Microsoft will kind of come out with the exact same thing or something very similar. So it just, again, we're getting overwhelmed with information, but it's also enabling a lot of people to create skills and tools and put things together. And it's an exciting time where all of us, and it's like this, I don't know, this golden age of apps and agents and things. And we have like a whole buffet of tools to do things, but it also reflects of how we're how things are changing. Like, I don't know if I'll ever go back into the Dataverse table maker and begin to create tables from scratch using that. I'm going to be doing it from probably Visual Studio Code from here on in using one of these tools. And if we had this conversation even 3 or 4 months ago, you need to create tables. What would you use? Well, there's the built-in Copilot, there's Plan Designer. Now I'm living in Visual Studio Code. And a year ago, I never thought that would be my main thing that's open every day on my machine. It's amazing. It's cool, scary, everything all at the same time.
Yeah, and I know because I'm not so fluent in Visual Studio Code and Git. I don't get that's I keep saying that. So for me, it's still a bit aliens. Copilot, Cowork comes in, or Cloud Cowork, up until we have the Copilot one, and kind of saves the day for me because it's I know that on the back it's the same, and I feel kind of non-codey for using the natural language kind of agent experience, but for me that feels more natural because I'm not so comfortable with all the file structure and all that. I get lost in Visual Studio Code all the time with settings and accounts and what to use where, and yeah, so it doesn't feel natural for me. But Claude Cowork is really something I feel at home with. And yeah, like you said, the notion of skills is so important. And to have a file structure, and I've gone through the interview with 100 questions to get my writing style and to understand more about me, to have that in one skill file. And then as I'm creating project, it creates its own Claude files to store memory in. And of course, then you can also move these around, right? And then, so I've created an expense project. And when we were done with all my expenses, I said, all right, let's create the skills needed for me to just simply start adding receipts, and you understand what to do autonomously by yourself, which is a really cool way of just me having a continuous project to work with this, because tech is going to evolve. And also I know that we don't get access to, I can't use it on my organization. So I can't connect this to my company. So what I have to do is I have to have this clean cut somewhere where I have an Excel spreadsheet or the files, wherever it is, to then manually move over to my company. But one day maybe I'll be able to seamlessly kind of just make it create these expense reports and rows for me. But that's an IT security perspective that is now blocking me, but it doesn't prohibit me from experimenting with this technology, right? But also I think it's very important to, for me at least, I learn a lot by looking at these skills files. So the one that you talk about directly, you have 18, it says on the top, so 68 tools and 18 skills is covered in this repo. So actually going in and opening up some of these files to look at them, to see how they're structured, what they include, is also very smart, because you then understand a little bit more about how to think when you're interacting with these coding agents and how to kind of evolve them yourself. So I'm like you, I'm loving interacting with this, though through a different lens, but it's the same thing and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you say like a Visual Studio Code, like I am not a Visual Studio Code master. I actually at the MVP Summit, I took in a few Visual Studio Code sessions because I feel I'm only tapping in maybe 50, 60% of all the capabilities. I feel like I'm missing a few things. I'm watching videos and everything like that. Like I'm getting more and more capable with it, but it is a dev tool at the end of the day. And I do come from a developer background, but I do get you when you say like, there's just a lot going on, and it's supposed to be, it was supposed to be just started out just as a code editor, and now it does 1,000 things, and the plugins and the whole bit. So this has been part of my ongoing learning as well, just within Visual Studio Code. So I get you when you say you're intimidated, because there's all these things. And then of course, then you see a session and someone clicks something in Visual Studio Code. I'm like, hold on. What did you just click there? Like, what is that? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the experience I have as well. And then also I feel a bit stupid for not getting it, but also I got kind of, sorry. Because I have one account for Visual Studio, right? Because I have my subscription. Then I have one for my environment. Then I have one for Claude, or the agent that I'm using. And then I have one for, and then so many different layers of stuff. And then I have one for Git and one for that. And then suddenly I was all dizzy. So if I can get 8 hours and someone can sit me down and teach me GitHub Copilot, Visual Studio Code, I would be so happy. Maybe that's what I should do next. But yeah, it's stopping and starting videos. I know that. Yeah. All right. So item on the list is the public preview of your biz apps, now part of every conversation, which is a really cool announcement. So you put this in here. You want to talk about it?
Did I put that one in?
Maybe not. Maybe I did. But at
you
least
did.
Okay. Well, it's
continuing on the stuff that we talked about earlier from from the team that we taught, the session that I saw that at Ignite about now incorporating the agent feed into Power Apps, and with the ability to where you're actually having the agents within the model driven app and able to interact with those Power Apps through the Power Apps MCP server from the M365 interface. So I think a lot of that now has gotten, I believe that's just the fact that it's now public preview, where it was in demo form before or private previews. This now gives everybody the ability to go try it out and kind of build into their own workloads and see how that goes. I think that's what the link was all about.
Yeah. And also so when you, if you're in Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? Then you can interact with Dataverse data through an adaptive card experience and not have to leave your app. The same thing goes for Word documents, where before you would have the Copilot panel on the right side, you could ask it questions. It could read your document, but it couldn't go in and edit anything. Now it's going to be so integrated in your document or your PowerPoint or your data that it's actually going to do work on your behalf. And that now goes across all the different business applications, and has become immensely more powerful. And especially with kind of PowerPoint, I've tried it out where I've made a layout change with one of the layouts in my PowerPoint. And I'm like, dude, can you go in and just change this for all of it? And it goes through and it can actually now do it for me. At least, of course, it argues with me because I put some things off the screen, and it was like, I think this is offset a little bit. I'll put it here instead. I'm like, no, it was offset so it still kind of argues with me. But I'm sure I can beat it into submission at some point.
Absolutely. This is part of it.
This is part of it.
I was about to say, you've been working with Cloud Cowork. I've been using Cloud Cowork a little bit myself. Of course, Microsoft also now has come out with Cowork. That was released in the last week or so. So our friend Jukka actually went through and basically broke apart what each one is. It's not the same. A lot of people think it's just Microsoft licensing Cloud Cowork. Well, there's much more to it than that, and how they both work.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely yes, there is a code share going on there, but just how Microsoft implements it. And Yuka's done this is what Jukka does, right? Yeah. There's obviously licensing involved in this.
It's not Jukka, it's Jukka AI. This is a bot. Jukka hasn't created a post since early November. It's all Jukka AI now. But that aside, so Jukka AI has created a nice side-by-side comparison. No, but also I'm with you. I thought actually what Microsoft did was just grabbing some of the code, because they work with Anthropic now, and just kind of creating their own desktop app for this. But they're not. Actually, what they're doing, and this is really, I'm positively surprised by Microsoft at this point. I'm like, yes, because what they're doing is they're grabbing the same idea, and then they're doing what Cloud Cowork is not doing. So Cloud Cowork is all about its files local on your machine. It's hard to share across a team. It's all kind of your coworker on your computer. It's very localized. Copilot Cowork will be in the cloud. It will be in the tenant. It will be cloud native. It will work out of OneDrive. It will only with cloud files. It will be native with the Graph API. And so I love it. And then you look at the side by side comparison. You'll see that it's every other thing that Jukka's kind of going through. Either Cloud Cowork can do it or Copilot Cowork can do it. And it's very little overlap, which I absolutely love seeing, because then it actually fills a gap in the market.
Yeah, like as a single company freelancer like myself, I use Cloud Cowork, can work for me in a lot of situations, but looking at the M365 Cowork, which, to be honest, I've only just activated it like 2 days ago. So because my license expired a week ago, and then I just hadn't got around to renewing it, because I've been using Cloud Cowork for a lot of my other stuff. So I've actually got that reactive. I had to reactivate it again just for all the other things that Microsoft 365 does give me, and what I do need to look at for content and everything else. So it's going to be interesting for me, and my journey is, what to use for what and what makes sense. Like, yes, I have to leave my machine running for Cloud Cowork. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's like, I kind of want to do other stuff, but Claude's now using my machine, and does it work in the background? Am I going to interrupt anything? Like, just little things. Maybe it won't, but these little things like that I need to kind of work through. So, but definitely is a good article to kind of go through to help not really the confusion, but give clarity for everybody that's using either one or the other. And it is something that I think, regardless of who you are, you need to investigate Cowork, because if you don't, your colleagues will, or everybody else will, to just and it should make your life easier. That's the whole idea. But it might take you a while to get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that IT, security and governance and admins needs to take seriously, that when we have these tools available, we will find a way. And if they don't allow it, then we're going to do it on the side, because falling behind is not an option. So, and every company needs to address this, right? And that goes for me working at a 1,000 people company, and it goes for you, who is a one person company. So I think that the main difference is that and this is a discussion that I saw in the MVP group as well. Someone asked, my company doesn't allow Copilot Cowork because it's outside. It sends data to the US. This is my company, right? So we don't allow Anthropic models, but they allow Anthropic models in GitHub Copilot. So the question was, does that send data to the US? And isn't it a bit kind of non-cohesive if you allow GitHub Copilot to use Anthropic models, but you don't allow your employees to use Cloud Cowork? So if you have a strict policy that forbids Anthropic models because they do send data to the US, and you forbid Cloud Cowork for the same reasons, Copilot Cowork will be a very good news. This is very good news for you, because that is in your tenant. So it's encapsulated in your tenant and will adhere to the same rules as everything else. So for me, it's for the admins, they don't have to think, because they know that they have their policies in place, and they know that Microsoft needs to adhere to this, because there are huge fines out there if you violate those rules, right? Because this is legislated in a lot of cases. So as long as you know that you're not using Anthropic models and you're using Microsoft Copilot Cowork in your tenant, you should be safe for now. So I think this is a very needed new feature. Also, you need to be in the Frontier program to have access to Cowork, and it's part of a Microsoft 365 Copilot license at this point. I think it's still hard to see where you go in terms of credits, and because that's always the thing with Cloud Cowork. I now have the Max subscription, and I max out on the credits all the time. So I don't know what this is going to be like with the new one, but I think it's important to ask these questions. And I'm so glad for the discussion in the MVP chat, because I've thought about this for a while myself, and I've found it very hard to ask these questions. I was really unsure because I felt a little bit stupid asking these questions, even to my admins, right? So this is a valid question, guys, and it's okay to go to your admins and ask.
Yeah. And if they don't know, they're going to have to look it up.
Right. So moving on with the news and updates. Your agent now speaks Dataverse.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that was just something that kind of popped up, I think just late last week or April 1st. Yeah. So last Wednesday, right before Easter kicked in. And I haven't tried this yet. And I am excited. This is probably one of the first things I'm going to do when I get home is turn this on. It's from Suyash Kshirsagar. Again, apologies for the name pronunciation, but he is a principal software engineering manager. Basically, it is an open source. It's Dataverse skills, but basically, so this is what I'm interested in. So people hear skills, they hear APIs, they hear MCPs. I heard a good analogy was MCP it's like your kitchen. It has the tools there. It has your stove, your oven, your mixers. Those are your MCPs, and your skills are your recipe book. So the skills are going to use the MCP servers to build your things. And I thought that was a really good analogy. Here, when we talk about Dataverse skills, it's using the Dataverse CLI or, through the Power Platform CLI, which is the command line tool. But there, it's not only creating like tables, but it's creating the solutions, the relationships. And basically, you can begin to build very much like Plan Designer. You kind of describe what it is you're building, and it builds that whole data structure for you. Following these skills and things like that. Again, kind of amazing. And it's one of these skills that can work across agents. You use GitHub Copilot or Claude Code, depending on what you're using. It is open source. It's extensible, so you can add your own flavors to it as well. A lot of good links in here. It uses the Dataverse Python SDK, which we've talked a little bit about before. It often uses the Dataverse MCP server as well. So like I said, it's using these bits and pieces, but kind of allowing your agents to kind of go, and it's again, this is just sort of, a year ago, we're talking about the different tools to create things. Now we're talking skills and MCP servers and agents. Is creating software, whether we're creating agents or apps or even data structures, is just so radically changed, I think, in a good way, because it's allowing us to get to that creative end in mind faster. And we're not bogged down with the tedious creating a field click, creating another field click, setting the thing to 100 characters, doing all this stuff. If we describe it well, we still have to review the work, but it's taking we're basically delegating stuff to these agents now, allowing us to get to our end result faster, which I think is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And I think, as you said, the world is moving so fast that, it's to keep up with this tools as well is difficult. And I also see MCP expanding. So also I've seen again and again people treating MCP servers like API endpoints. There's so much more you can do with MCP. And I think as the understanding of MCP servers kind of evolve, I see more and more smart use of it. So let me just...
So good.
All right. Next item on the list is very much on the topic of Copilots and MCP servers, because this is, so let me just get this name right, Simon Owen. We've had his stuff on the show before, and he's the guy that does what I do. He writes with his pen on his Surface or whatever it is that he has. So his illustrations will be handwritten, which I absolutely love. And that's an excuse in of its own just to showcase someone's work when they do this. But what he's used his pen for this time is to show us the difference between the different copilots. So when we started in the beginning to talk about the different app types, we also have a resource today about how to choose from the different types of agents or copilots. So he's going from different types of work. If you have it structured, if it's targeted, if it's delegated or directive, and then goes through use cases and different copilots, and then and where the data sits. And so it's a very good way to go. And it also gives another illustration with examples, with kind of screenshots and a little bit of a visual to what kind of work the different copilots will be useful for. So if you need this kind of resource, I think this is a great one to look at. And also, maybe it's AI written. I don't know. Maybe it's hand drawn by AI, or maybe it's actually Simon Owen who did it. We'll never know.
Simon AI. I did bump into Simon last week in Redmond at MVP. It was just sort of, we kind of like, hey, just sort of, you see people that you read their stuff online, whatever. I believe we had met in person one time before, but very briefly. So we big shout out to Simon. It was good to see you last week, and a great article. I went through it today, and it's like, I love the whiteboarding technique.
Yep.
I think this probably was a legit whiteboard type of exercise here. If not, it's pretty slick.
Yeah. Let's just choose to believe that it is actually handwritten. And I've had a few years between so I had Surface for like 10 years, and then I had a few years with Adele, and I missed it. I mean, the ability to just draw something quickly on a screen for a customer, because they will be in a meeting, right? And then they'll talk about something, and I'll just draw up an architecture map with because I have my own style of writing architecture, where people understand, because they see things through apps and interfaces, not from technical side, right? So what I'll show them is someone with a mobile and an app and a letter and just to show them what it's going to look like on the back end. And then I can show it to them in the meeting, and they go, wow, yes, perfect. But not like that, like this. And suddenly we have a conversation about something concrete, not something abstract, right? So it really helps the mental mapping of your mind.
Picture's worth 1,000 words all the time. I'm a diagram guy too. True. I need to show me a picture or show me boxes or drawings or arrows, and then I'll get it. I'll get there.
You're a PowerPoint and a list guy for sure. Yes, I know. It's if there's a major life decisions needs happening, like it's all in PowerPoint, laying it out, going, can you review this for me? Yes, I can. Just send it over. It's fine. Making life decisions in PowerPoint. That's fine. We all have our tools.
Exactly. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. All right. So I just wanted to mention something else where we're on the topic of copilots before we move on to the last item. I saw Nicola Valenti shared Claude code commands. So we talked about the different skills and the different files that it creates, but also there are different commands within Claude Code that you can use and the difference in what it means. So you'll have Claude MD, which it creates itself, which is kind of its own rule book. that it reads before every task. You'll have the skills, your dash skills, the dash MCP, the dash agent, the dash plan. The forest is an architectural outline before any code is written. So there's the dash compact. It compresses the story to a maximal size available to context windows, so you don't have to do, and it does that itself. I know that when the conversation is long enough, like, just give me a second. I'm just condensing our conversation so that I don't lose any context, because now I'm kind of context window fatiguing a little bit. So there's a lot of things there to pick up if you're a cloud code user. And I'm sure this is applicable to all the other coding agents as well.
Yeah. No, that was a great little article. Again, reminder, it was really good because there's a few things in here that I haven't thought about it that way, or it's just good to know that some of these commands exist. And yeah, it's definitely, he's got a whole cheat sheet here that you can print out and post with your 1,000 other cheat sheets that people are posting on LinkedIn. Yeah. But this looks really helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
So do you want to close off with the
last item?
The last item. You were in the room, so I think you're the best one to talk about it.
Yeah. So Canadian Power Platform Summit, which we did talk a little bit about last week. Keegan Chambers she opened up our event talking about, and the title of her talk was Wired Differently, Leading Boldly, A Journey of Neurodivergent Strength. Keegan recorded this and was kind enough to post this on LinkedIn or on YouTube. We're going to put the link in the show notes. If you work in IT with people, watch this video. Just be prepared. It might kind of bring up some emotions for sure of how she presents and everything like that. But it just sort of goes through about how definitely in IT people are, they think differently. We have neurodivergent capabilities, and how these capabilities can map to become a superpower, because how you can interpret information, how you can relay information, how you understand different bits of information. She has a very personal story from her. I could say just watch the video, check it out. It is very powerful. And again, thanks Keegan for kicking off our keynote at CPPS. We didn't want to kick off with another, Microsoft here, drink the blue Kool-Aid. Pilots are wonderful licenses. We really wanted to get people thinking, it's a true a community conference, kind of covering the different aspects. Of course, we did cover, the Microsoft tools and Kool-Aid and whatever else, but we blended it in. I think we blended it in fairly well. But this was a great way to kick things off. And again, thanks Keegan for doing this. Thank you very much for recording the video. I know Andrew Bibby was helping you out, setting up the camera and everything. To be able to record this and be able to share with our broader community. Definitely appreciate that from, myself and the organizers of CPPS. So great way to close, a great way to open up CPPS, great way to close off this week's episode as well. Again, will be, for those of you, again, Color Cloud, that's coming up next week. So
yeah, and we are ready and prepared with our workshop.
Yes, we are.
No problem.
Yes, we are.
Yes. And then the next episode is going to be on April 22nd, which is going to be the week after. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap of Color Cloud, I'm sure. Yeah. And then
maybe we could do a 5-minute little quick report from Color Cloud if we have time.
Yes, absolutely. Let's try to do that. But until then, take care, and take care of those around you. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, folks.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts, Ulrikke Åkerbeck and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.